And a pleasant, happy 4th of July weekend, everybody. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Baseball on Fox. These two teams play every year for the Ohio Cup, and that already belongs in 2011 to the Cleveland Indians. They've beaten the Reds 4 times already this year, with today and tomorrow still to go. A pleasure to be joined today by Mark Grace. And Gracie, when all is said and done, big picture-wise, both of these teams are counting on playing baseball come October.
Oh, no question. The Cincinnati Reds, they were there last year in the postseason. They expect to be there again this year. However, they've been a little inconsistent. Dusty Baker feels like they should be playing better baseball, and I think they're primed for a big run here before the All-Star break. The Cleveland Indians, on the other hand, have surprised a lot of people. They have a great pitching staff, and that has put them on top of the AL Central.
Well, today they'll hand the ball to Fausto Carmona. Homer Bailey will start it for Cincinnati. Cleveland winning 30 of its first 45 games, tripped for a couple of weeks, and now all of a sudden starting to play better again. For the Reds, meanwhile, at 1.8 games over 500, they've been basically a 500 team since. They'll go toe-to-toe in Cincinnati next on Fox. Ballpark. Our opening pitch today is brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Well, the Reds and the Indians beating over the weekend here in Cincinnati. And we understand a short while ago, home plate umpire, the scheduled home plate umpire, Darryl Cousins, not feeling well. So they're going to work with a 3-man crew. Ron Culpa behind the plate. Jim Wolf will work at first. And down at third, until somebody gets on, will be John Trumpain. Indians winning the opener of this series last night, and digging in is Michael Brantley against Homer Bailey. In the first pitches on the inside corner, striking were underway.
Cincinnati Reds looking any way they can to try to solve these Cleveland Indians. The Indians have won every single contest. There's been 4 of them thus far in the battle for Ohio.
Foul away, and it's quickly 0-2 on Brantley. Homer Bailey, #1 pick a native Texan, and many believe this year he had finally become the pitcher they were hoping he would be, were it not for yet another shoulder injury.
Yeah, he once again, a lot of talent, a great fastball, great stuff, period. They just have to find a way to get him on the mound more.
Bailey only making his 7th start of the year. There's a weak ground ball off the mound, fielded by Paul Yadish, the shortstop. He'll throw out Brantley. One away to begin the Cleveland first inning. We take a look at the Indians lineup, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. The former Red, Orlando Cabrera, coming up. Asdrubal Cabrera, an all-star year at shortstop, batting third. Carlos Santana at first. Grady Sizemore in center, with the youngster Lonnie Chisenhall just brought up from the minor leagues at third. Another former Red, Austin Kearns in right. Lou Marson behind the plate. And Fausto Carmona is on the mound. Orlando Cabrera, the Reds' regular shortstop and a big part of their division-winning team a year ago, signed very late over the winter to join up with Cleveland. And after a great start, much like the team in general, really slowed down, and they're hoping he'll rev it back up again. This guy's a good winning player.
Just about every place he's been, that team has won. Cabrera gives you some veteran presence, and when the Cleveland Indians got out to that great start you talked about, Tom, when they won 30 of their first 45 games, you know, these guys are young. They were giddy about things.
There's a base hit on an 0-2 pitch into left field on a 95-mile-per-hour fastball. So the veteran Cabrera can still turn around on that heat.
And to finish up, they won the 30 out of 45. They were giddy about things. They were starting to believe all the headlines, these youngsters in the Cleveland clubhouse. And Cabrera took it upon himself to say, let's pull the reins back a little bit, boys. We haven't done anything yet. Let's stay focused on the job at hand. And it really went over well in the organization.
Well, there's very little debate that tomorrow, when we learn what players will be headed to the All-Star game in Phoenix, Arizona, a week from Tuesday, which of course we'll have right here for you on Fox, that this young man, Asdrubal Cabrera, will be on the American League All-Star team.
No question. I think anybody that has watched this year, he deserves to start for the American League. Nothing against Derek Jeter, but he's been hurt for a long time and not near the numbers that this young man has.
Ran a fastball in on his hands and fouled away 1-1 among all American League shortstops. Cabrera, the most hits, the most home runs, the most extra base hits, has scored the most runs, and has knocked in the most runs.
And a wizard defensively as well. He's just as talented on the defensive side of the baseball.
Boy, Bailey throwing a pile of strikes early in the game. His first 9 pitches, only 1 has been outside the strike zone.
Just no nonsense baseball from Homer Bailey. I'm going to throw some strikes. What are you guys going to do with it? Going to have to battle the heat as Homer Bailey. Fausto Carmona the same way.
Orlando Cabrera, very short lead over at first. 1-2 on Asdrubal Cabrera, and it's off the outside corner.
Well, that was a good changeup by Homer Bailey. Really good patience by Cabrera to let that one sail outside.
Told you Bailey, the 7th overall pick back in June of 2004, and many felt like he was rushed to the major leagues. The Reds had very poor pitching going back to 2007 and felt like they needed Bailey to come up to the major leagues, and clearly wasn't ready as a teenager. In fact, made his major league debut against the Indians in this ballpark. The following year, he did not win a game, was injured in 2008. In 2009 was an 8-game winner, making 20 starts at the major league level. And here he is, just 25 years old, a couple of months having turned 25. And well, the Reds had high hopes for him when the year began. And after coming off the disabled list, was pitching brilliant. 3-1 record, ERA of under 3. But then all of a sudden, a start in Philadelphia a little over a month ago, had to leave the game early, just came back last week.
A looseness in his shoulder, and you have to worry a little bit if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan about a guy at this young of an age to have the pile of injuries that he's had. That's strike 3, though.
2 away in the inning. First strikeout for Bailey. And here's a look at the Reds on defense. A very good defensive team brought to you by Scott's. Johnny Gomes, Drew Stubbs, Jay Bruce in the outfield. Rowland, a Gold Glove winner last year, as was Phillips. Votto very sound defensively, and a battery of Bailey and Hannigan.
One of the reasons the Cincinnati Reds were a playoff team last year is because they were one of the best defensive teams in all of baseball. Nothing's changed this year. They're just looking for a little more consistent offensive numbers.
Strike one to Carlos Santana.
What a strike machine today is Homer Bailey.
First 13 pitches out of the gate for Homer Bailey. Only 2 of them have missed the strike zone. Santana in 76 games, 12 home runs and 38 runs batted in. Talking to Manny Acta before the game and said, you know, this guy came up as such a highly touted prospect. Do you still look at him that way? And he said, without a doubt. He said people forget that he's only in his 4th year as a catcher, originally a third baseman. And he said through really revamping his entire swing that you still look at the numbers, 12 home runs, 38 batted in 76 games, not all that bad.
You take that from a .230 hitter, and that's what he is right now. He is awfully productive. Just hit a boatload of home runs in the minor leagues. So the reason he was kind of rushed was, well, they didn't have much choice. He was just too good for the minor leagues.
0-2 on Santana. Hannigan setting up away and just threw a fastball right by him. What an impressive opening inning for Homer Bailey. Cincinnati comes to bat in the bottom of the first when we return on Fox. They were working on him down in the umpire's room before the game, not feeling well a couple of hours ago. So he's back out there at third. It is very warm, Gracie, on the field when you mix in the humidity today.
That's exactly right. Darryl Cousins, the longtime veteran umpire, he's being a trooper today.
Dusty Baker starting lineup brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Drew Stubbs, Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto to start things off. Scott Rowland in a cleanup spot. Jay Bruce in right. Johnny Gomes in left. For the latter third of Brian Hannigan, Paul Janisch, and Homer Bailey against 4-10 right-hander Fausto Carmona.
And hard to see with the stuff that this big right-hander has that he's just getting hit as hard as he's been getting hit this year, especially lately. His last outing against the San Francisco Giants was a step in the right direction, Tom. But prior to that, he had been getting hit very hard just about every time he took the mound.
Well, he had that opening day start, which he gave up 10 runs in just 3 innings against the White Sox, and looked like he'd start to settle in after that. There's a rocket in the left field on the first pitch in the at-bat to Drew Stubbs. So Stubbs with 23 stolen bases. He's only been thrown out 4 times. He is aboard after the first pitch thrown by Carmona, and where a lot of his problems have started, him being Carmona, is pitching out of the stretch with runners on base.
It's So, for some reason, Fausto Carmona has really struggled, as you said, pitching from the stretch. Well, it only took one pitch to get him right back in the stretch, so that's bad news for Indians fans. When you see this big fella, you want him out of the windup because he has been getting knocked around every time he has to come set.
A one-time Cleveland Indian, Brandon Phillips, who hit a pair of home runs against his former team here last night, fouls away the first pitch, strike one. Well, we talked about after that disastrous opening day start for Carmona. After 8 starts, he was at 3-3 with an ERA at 3.8. Not bad at all, especially in the American League. But over the last 8 games, a 1-7 record, the ERA of nearly 9. But as you point out, Gracie, Manny Acta told us before the game, they feel like that last outing against the Giants was hopefully something to build on.
He made some progress.
Phillips picked up his 999th career hit last night, a home run. Then later in the game, his 1,000th career hit, a home run. 1-1.
You see the arm that Fausto Carmona has. I mean, he's got great stuff. Ball moves all over the place. He's got a terrific slider as well. It's just got a lot of people in the Cleveland Indian organization just scratching their head about just how hard he's been getting hit lately.
Reds come into play, 1 game over 500, 42 up, 41 down, tied for 3rd with the Pirates in the National League Central, 3 games behind the Cardinals. Runner goes, and they'll have to play to first. So Phillips thrown out by Cabrera. Stubbs in scoring position, 1 out in the inning. We take a look at Cleveland defensively, presented by Scott's. Sizemore back in the lineup in center field. They're without Shin-Soo Choo with a broken thumb in the outfield. They're having to patch things together. Looking forward to seeing Chisenhall down at 3rd. Boy, Manny Acta is very, very excited to have him up from the minor leagues.
And there was a bit of a question about his defense at 3rd base. I've watched him play 3 of his, well, just very few games in the major leagues, and he has been, I mean, he's been a rock out there at 3rd base. He's been terrific.
Yeah, you've seen the Indians the entire week out in Arizona, where they were before they came here to Cincinnati.
And a very impressive ball club. Manny Acta's really got these guys believing in themselves. It's been a while since the Tribe has put out a not only competitive team, but a team that's in first place. And it's good for baseball. It's good for the American League to have a talented Cleveland Indian ball club. And as a guy that played on the north side of Chicago for 13 years, you know, the long-suffering Cub fans, well, there's a lot of long-suffering Cleveland Indian fans as well. And it's just it's good for baseball to have a good Cleveland Indian team.
Joey Votto, the reigning National League's most valuable player. A .315 batter, 11 home runs, 50 runs batted in, and does most of his damage with runners on base. Votto, right, only about a .270 batter with the bases empty. You put him up there with guys on, and those numbers go through the roof.
The old saying, it's not how you hit, it's when you hit. And Joey Votto knows just when to swing that lumber. One of the most prepared players I've ever watched.
3 balls and a strike. Those are the numbers we're talking about. I mean, look at it. Runners on, 378. In scoring position, 431. 2 outs in scoring position, even better than that.
That's awesome. That's why he's an MVP, because he gets big hits. When he does get hits, there's usually somebody crossing the plate. Just one of the most prepared players. Nobody's going to outwork this kid. Right now, Carmona looking to do about anything but throw this pitch right now on 3-1 to Joey Votto. You have a base open. You've got Scott Rowland on deck, who is not the Scott Rowland that we saw 5-6 years ago.
Votto on the ground, hooks it to the right side. His former teammate Orlando Cabrera throws him out. Stubbs advancing on the third, and there are 2 outs here in the inning.
Another run after Votto. He threw something off speed. Votto hit it hard, but he hit it right at Orlando Cabrera. That's a big out for Fausto Carmona and the Cleveland Indians.
But one more big one to go. Scott Rowland came to Cincinnati in a surprising deal a couple of years ago, and has really helped mold so many of these young Reds players. And he had a great season a year ago when Cincinnati won the National League Central Division title. But this year has again been troubled by an ailing left shoulder, which has bothered him for many years now. And they're hoping, with a lengthy trip on the disabled list already this year, that a fresh Rowland will be able to produce the way he did last year over the final half of this year.
Well, he's one of my favorite people in the game of baseball. Hard worker, has been his entire career. There for a while, there wasn't a better defensive third baseman in the game, and it still might be the case. But the numbers, especially the power numbers, have certainly been on the decline the last few years.
Aramis Ramirez and Mark Teixeira picked up career home run number 300 earlier this week. And Carmona will survive the opening inning. A leadoff hit, a runner left at third. End of 1, no score from Cincinnati. CLE is sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. And by DirecTV. Now get DirecTV's best offer of this year. Now the tall stacks out in right center field here at Great American Ballpark, and sitting atop the American League Central at 6 games over 500, the Cleveland Indians. And we'll keep you up to date throughout the afternoon on the Cubs and the White Sox. A game in the bottom of the first inning at Wrigley. You've seen a lot of the American League Central Division this year, Mark Grace. How do you sum it up so far, and then looking ahead?
It's just so evenly matched, and that's the way the standings certainly look at right now, with Cleveland up a half a game right now as we speak. Detroit has made a run because Cleveland came back to the pack there for the time being. And the Chicago White Sox, there's just too much talent on the Chicago White Sox to play poorly. And I think Ozzy's finally got some guys starting to swing the bat the way they were expecting to swing the bat. Former Cincinnati Red Adam Dunn, oh boy, it's been a real struggle for him in the American League over with Chicago. But Paul Konerko's having an MVP type of season. Carlos Quentin's putting up monster numbers again. They're going to be right there as well. But the best pitching staff by far is the Cleveland Indians. By far.
course, Cleveland hoping that Grady Sizemore, their standout for so many years before the injuries have caught up to him over the last 3 years, has fallen behind Homer Bailey at 1-2. Talked about Bailey, the 7th pick in 2004, and his first career strikeout in that major league debut in 07. Grady Sizemore trying to get him his first time up here today. And Will on a tapper to Brandon Phillips. It's interesting to know that Sizemore would bounce out to Phillips. Who could ever forget that trade that was made back in the old days when the Montreal Expos were around? Grady Sizemore in a deal that included Cliff Lee, Brandon Phillips, and Lee Stevens for Tim Drew and Bartolo Colon.
Wow.
How would the Indians look with Lee and Phillips and Sizemore for the last 6-7 years?
Oh my goodness.
Of course, you know, hindsight's 20/20.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Brandon Phillips, when he first came up, was a young, immature guy, and
it wasn't the right fit for him there.
Exactly.
He's come a long ways.
And a lot of people forget about Cliff Lee, who's on a roll, maybe unlike any point in his entire career. As Chisenhall looks at a breaking ball strike 1-1 that, you know, as good as he was there for a while with Cleveland, he was sent ultimately all the way back to the minor leagues before he got it together again.
That's exactly right. And, well, he's got it together all right, and he's been one of the best pitchers in the game. Bailey's going to have to get old. Nice play by Joey Votto.
So 2 up and 2 down. We talked about the National League Central, where the Reds were champions a year ago, in a third-place tie with the Pirates. The Reds will go to St. Louis, and what a rivalry that has become. My, oh my, it's only fitting they would meet on the 4th of July.
You drop the gloves anymore in that series.
Look out. That'll be starting Monday. The Reds will play 3 games there, then go to Milwaukee for the 4 games leading up to the All-Star break.
The Cincinnati-St. Louis series has turned into, there's been a few Donniebrooks and a lot of wars of words as well. It's just old-time baseball, and I love it.
It's a great rivalry. I mean, it is.
Needs to be more of that, if you ask me.
You know, they write about it in St. Louis all the time now and talk about it, how obviously the historical rivalry has been with the Cubs.
Sure.
But as far as baseball and competitive baseball is concerned right now, I mean, it's all about the Cardinals and the Reds. And we're not diminishing Milwaukee not being a team, or the Pirates for that matter, that could end up ultimately winning the division again. I mean, the Cardinals have dominated this division for better than a decade.
And they don't want anybody taking their title. They feel like, well, Cincinnati Reds, you haven't earned the right to come out and do these things yet. And that's just the way the Cardinals do things. Now, I don't have any problem with that. You know what? You're going to have to come beat us. And you know what? You might have to beat us out in the parking lot, too. Well, last year the Cincinnati Reds did just that.
Former first-round Reds draft pick Austin Kearns getting to start in the outfield today. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that just missed.
It's a good sink on that hard fastball from Homer Bailey. Bailey in complete command of everything right now.
Well, we talked about Kearns being a #1 pick. He grew up about an hour and 15 minutes south of Cincinnati in Lexington, Kentucky. The Reds' 2nd-round pick that same year. You said his name a minute ago. Adam Dunn.
Really? Boy, he put up some big-time numbers here in Cincinnati. Became kind of a cult hero to a lot of fans.
And here's strike 3 call. A 13-pitch inning for Bailey. And he is pounding that strike zone early on today. presented by AT&T, is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. Sellout crowd for the second straight night here at Great American Ballpark. In fact, the Reds have sold out 6 straight games. They had 3 against the Yankees right before they left town to go on an extended road trip during interleague play, where they lost 2 out of 3 to Baltimore, but then won 2 out of 3 over Tampa Bay, including, really should have swept all 3 games in that series. The final 2 against David Price and big game James Shields.
That's hard to do. Very hard to do. And that's a tough place to go and win baseball games, is down in Tampa. The Rays have a very good athletic ball club.
Jay Bruce 2-0 the count, leading off the Reds' second inning of a scoreless game. And it's knocked down by the shortstop Cabrera, but no play at first. I'm sure that'll be scored a base hit.
That ball was whistled, and Cabrera basically got his glove taken right off by this vicious line drive off the bat. Yeah, that one got him right in the thumb area. Asdrubal Cabrera is struggling right now. His glove hand is hurting right now.
Gracie, I want to ask you about that, because we saw a similar play with Cole Hamels that knocked him out of the game the other day. And I think the first thing for a lot of us, and I saw the Hamels play, I look at that play right there and you say, well, man, it hit him in the glove hand.
Right.
But talk about that. I mean, can that really injure a player wearing the glove? Hit it?
Absolutely. Right in the meat part of your thumb. Look at the thick part of your thumb down towards that. There's no, if you bruise that area, you don't realize just how important that area is in the game of baseball when you're grabbing a bat or when you squeeze your glove together to catch the baseball. You're using that thumb so much. So anytime you get smacked and you take a bad bruise on that part of your thumb, I mean, that is a very important part of playing baseball. You need that part. And if you get a deep bone bruise there, I mean, you saw it with Hamels. He had to come out of the game, and it's not his pitching hand.
We'll keep an eye on Cabrera throughout the rest of the day, because you saw him continually to look down and flex that left thumb area.
Between every pitch, he's trying to squeeze, trying to get some feeling back in that area. That thing got him. I mean, that ball was smashed off the bat of Jay Bruce.
One and one to count on Johnny Gomes. Gomes, another guy who played such an integral role in the Reds winning the divisional title last year, but it's just not been the same 2011. Gomes knocked in nearly 90 runs for this team a year ago, and it has been a revolving door out in left field among the trio. The veteran Fred Lewis brought in during the offseason. Gomes and the Reds minor league player of the year 2 years ago, the youngster Chris Heisey.
Well, that's a guy I love there. Chris Heisey can play. But so can Johnny Gomes. Johnny Gomes draws a lot of walks. Even though he's a 224 hitter, he's on base a lot, and that's what Dusty Baker likes. He just rarely chases anything out of the zone.
You and I were talking before the game. Gomes is one of the most likable players you'll meet in the game today.
No question. Tough kid. A very tough kid. You don't want to get on his wrong side. He'll box your ears. But he is, if you're on his good side, there's not a more delightful human being around.
He's been through a lot in his life. So much growing up. And that's a swing and a miss, strike 3, and the first strikeout of the day for Carmona. All right, Mr. Grace, how about our forward keys to the game today?
Well, for the Cleveland Indians, it's race to the 6th. If you can get Carmona to the 6th inning, it's one of the best bullpens in all of baseball. You can just hand it to if you're Manny Acta. And if you're the Reds, you kick him while he's down. Right now, Fausto Carmona is down. He has really struggled his last few starts. So now you just, you be mean and despicable, and you kick a guy when he's down. So far, it's been okay for Carmona.
That's what we talked about, those numbers his last start, last Sunday night against the Giants. He got the loss in that game, but they feel like it's something that he can build on in his start today. Reds catcher Ryan Hanigan settles in, 253 batter, 3 home runs, and 19 runs batted in. We're scoreless in the bottom of the second inning. Reds like to play hit and run with Hannigan at the plate, more so than anybody in their lineup should they get to a favorable count.
Bruce with good speed at first base as well. However, Cleveland's got a pretty good trump card in Lou Marson. He leads all of baseball in throwing out base runners at 53%. Folks, that's unheard of. League average is in the 20s, Tommy.
Oh, and one on Hannigan. And it's off the outside corner, even the count of a ball and a strike. You continue to go back to last year, and oftentimes when you're trying to see why your club is not doing a year later what it did a year ago, the Cincinnati catchers last year at that position got the second most runs batted in among all National League teams, second only to Atlanta last year. And of course down there,
Brian McCann.
Now this year, Hannigan and Ramon Hernandez have played well, but not on pace to do what they did a season ago. And of course the Reds, many believe, have the best catching prospect in all the minor league baseball, sitting in AAA Louisville, and Devin Mesoraco, a #1 pick out of Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, who is having a monster year in the minor leagues again this year.
It's just a matter of when he gets here. Those are good problems to have. A lot of really talented young men down in the minor leagues and no place up here to put them.
Runner goes, and it's dribbled foul. It's what we talked about with Hannigan. 2-1 count. They'll start a runner, but this time he fouls it away, and Bruce will walk back to first on this steamy Saturday.
First, you always have to stop and have something to say to Orlando Cabrera. He's always got something to say to you as you run by.
Well, what a great teammate he was on this Cincinnati club last year. I know that there were times early in his career with the White Sox especially, for whatever reason, he rubbed a few people, I guess, the wrong way when he first got there. I remember you and I hanging out in Ozzie Guillen's office, and he looked at me like I had 3 heads when I talked about what a great guy Cabrera is. But I think in Cleveland this year, they tell you the same thing. This guy is a winning player. He's a gamer. He'll play every single day, and still a very good player.
A very good player. Still a productive player. Defensively, hasn't missed a beat. He just knows how to play Major League Baseball, and I think a lot of these young guys with the Cleveland Indians like following his lead. The best way I can describe it, folks, is he's just a pro. Look out.
Hannigan hit on a 2-2 pitch, a fastball that ran in on it. So now the Reds have 2 on with 1 out. The number 8 hitter, Paul Yanis, coming up.
Mistake there by Carmona. You've got 2 strikes on Hannigan. You end up hitting him. And you give up a free 90 feet now as Bruce moves up to second base.
Now, I love asking you questions like this because, for 99.9% of us, we're never going to get in a batter's box in a major league game.
Right.
Asked you about the thumb a minute ago on the glove hand. And I want to ask you about getting hit by a pitch. Here's Yanis. Ball 1 high.
It hurts.
For how long does it hurt?
Well, depending on if it gets you on a fleshy part of your arm, but now if it gets you on your elbow, like your elbow bone, oh man, that thing will stay with you for over a week sometimes, and you got to keep the compression sleeves on it, and it's hard to straighten your elbow. Now, if it catches you, if it catches you on the leg or in the fanny or something like that, you get over that pretty quickly. But if you catch it on the wrist or in the hand, you've got all those small bones in your hand or in your wrist. And we've seen, Jin-Soo Choo, because of that, he's going to miss a considerable amount of time because he got hit in the hand area.
2-0 now to Yanis.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Hannigan took that one, but
looked like off the bicep, tricep area.
He's still kind of shaking that left arm down there at first base as well. Plus, Carmona's throwing hard.
Tapper in the hole, and they get the out at second. No throw to first. That's a good play by Cabrera. So 2 away in the inning. And we remind you, today's game presented by AT&T is sponsored by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds and be responsible, as always, over this 4th of July holiday weekend. So now Homer Bailey, 2 out of 9 as a batter. And one thing about Bailey, he is a good athlete. And he will not be cheated at the plate.
Carmona probably loving life over here at Great American Ballpark. Wow, I get to face a pitcher with runners on first and third and 2 outs.
Foul behind the play. You got to admire the honesty of Manny Acta when he was asked about comparing managing in the American League compared to the National League. He said, "What, are you kidding me?
Not even close."
Not even close." He said, "American League game, sit back, watch. Not that you don't have to make decisions about when to take your pitcher out, but obviously you are forced to make decisions earlier than otherwise you would in terms of maneuvering around double switches." There's a nice play by Carmona. And his throw is in time. Tag made by Santana, and that'll end the inning. We're back to Cincinnati after a break from your local Fox station. Baseball presented by AT&T. Rethink possible. And along the banks of the Ohio River, the Ohio side, and the Commonwealth of Kentucky on the other side.
Take a look at this, folks. That gets the pitching hand of Carmona. And you see the wild throw because of that. And watch Carmona. He's in some pain. It got him right in the thumb area or maybe even on the fingers. And he has to immediately go get some help from the Cleveland training staff. And he is supposed to be on deck. However, Michael Brantley, the leadoff hitter, is on deck right now as we speak.
Lou Marson with a first pitch swinging base hit into center field, and that's his second hit today for Cleveland off Homer Bailey.
Well, now it's decision time for Manny Acta. Where is Fausto Carmona? There he is. He's coming out. He's going to be asked to bunt.
Whereas now he's trying to put that batting glove over that right hand that got hit with that ball off the bat of Homer Bailey a minute ago.
He was in obvious pain between innings, and then, yeah, this is the National League rules over here, Fausto. You got to go up there and swing the bat, or at least try to put down a bunt.
And that's one of the primary reasons about the Phillies making the decision already that Cole Hamels was going to miss at least one start after getting hit with a line drive, even though it was his glove hand in his last start against Boston. That one's butted at Roller. They get one. And
oh, dear.
They're saying Giannis was not standing on the bag, and that is a huge call by the second base umpire, John Tumpain.
And Fausto Carmona took one of the better tumbles that you will ever see, folks. Let's hope he's okay as Dusty Baker comes out to argue. He's in pain again. I mean, Humpty Dumpty just had a great fall. Now you see the play. It's a good play there. Yeah, they say he was off the bag. And meanwhile, Fausto Carmona is still in some pain. Take a look-see here, folks. Look out. Holy smokes.
Well, Sandy Alomar Sr., the first base coach, is over there talking to Carmona, who's able to, I don't know if he's smiling or wincing. And Giannis arguing that he found the bag when he came back down with that right foot, and the umpire having no part of it.
Yeah, John Tumpain, I don't know really what he saw. I would imagine right now, Marson, Giannis talking about, yeah, he said I was off the bag. Meanwhile, Carmona having a rough go today. He's already hurt his hand on the comebacker, and then he hurt just about everything, I think, on this ball, including his feelings. Look out!
He's coming out of the game. To leave a game.
I think. Wow.
You know, the first thing a lot of people are going to talk about, and obviously the first and foremost, you hope that Carmona is not seriously hurt in any way, shape, or form. But, you know, you get into the whole debate about the designated hitter.
Right.
And the American League fans, more times than not, will say, well, this is why you'd rather have a DH. And the National League fan would stick his chest out and say, hey, look, you know, you got to be able to do something more than just swing the bat, or in a pitcher's case, just throw pitches off the mound.
His day is over. And that's too bad.
Josh Tomlin, the starting pitcher, as part of the Indians rotation, will come on and pinch run for Carmona. Leaves after 2 innings, allows 2 hits and no runs.
And I would imagine you're going to have to give an error to Scott Rowland.
Giannis.
They gave it to Giannis, yeah. Really?
All right, well, now to the Indians, ask Michael Brantley to bunt. You still have the catcher out there at second. You have a pitcher running at first. And it looked like there may have been a cross-up there on the first pitch, low and away to Brantley. Ball 1 from Homer Bailey.
And because of that cross-up, Tom, what probably was a strike gets called a ball because Hannigan just couldn't receive it properly. But no bunt right here in this situation. Or at least not yet.
2 on, nobody out. Scoreless game in the third, and now Brantley squares around, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Frank Herman getting loose in the Cleveland bullpen. Bailey has only allowed 2 hits, has struck out 3. But after the error by a shortstop a moment ago, the Indians have 2 on with nobody out, and that one is hammered into right field, and the Indians lead 3-0. So Brantley with his 6th home run of the year, and the Indians take advantage of the defensive miscue by Giannis and have a 3-0 lead.
Boy, Michael Brantley puts a charge into a 2-0 fastball, which is right in the middle of the plate. And boy, these Cleveland Indians, especially against the Cincinnati Reds, if you give them any breathing room, they have jumped all over any Reds mistakes this year. This is a mistake trying to come inside. It goes to the middle, and Brantley does what you're supposed to do with mistakes on 2-0. He pounds it.
Orlando Cabrera fouls it away, strike one. Up until this inning, Cabrera had the only Indians base hit. Cleveland knocked the cover off the ball in an 8-2 win here last night, roughing up Red starter and loser Bronson Arroyo. It's the second start in a row that, after a defensive error by Cincinnati behind Bailey, that he allowed a 3-run home run to the very next batter. It happened on the last road trip against Baltimore first baseman Derek Lee.
And it also makes you wonder, just with that break in the action, with the 10-car pileup that was Fausto Carmona, with that break in the action, did that maybe ice down a little bit Homer Bailey? I'll tell you what, that's one of the worst tumbles I've seen on a Major League Baseball field.
Yeah, that was running in a straight line.
Nobody touched him.
2-2 on Orlando Cabrera. In the air, short right center. Bruce has it, one out.
Well, now it's time for Homer Bailey. He's got to find a way to piece this thing back together. He's got to try to keep his team within striking distance. There's still a lot of baseball left in this ball game, and you're already into the Cleveland Indians bullpen.
Fly ball, shallow left field, and that'll fall in front of Gomes. A base hit by Asdrubal Cabrera.
Well, you lose a lot of range out there with Johnny Gomes in left field. I'm not saying that Fred Lewis would have gotten that ball, but he certainly would have gotten much closer. That just ended up being a base hit right off the bat. So right back into the stretch goes Homer Bailey.
Now look at Herman down there. He's been up and down over 4 different stints from the minor leagues to the big league club this year. And now Carlos Santana. He struck out his first time up. Cabrera has 12 steals in 13 attempts. Off the outside corner, ball one.
Good pitch there. That was what looked to be a changeup, or maybe just took a little off a fastball and just got it right at the kneecaps of Santana. 1-1.
Bailey will keep an eye on Cabrera over there at first base. Santana struck out his first time up. A base hit, a fielder's choice, and an error. Putting 2 on here in the third inning, and Michael Brantley clubs a 3-run home run to the bullpen in right field to give the Indians the early lead. And a 1-1. 2 balls and a strike. You look at the Indians team, and if their pitching can continue to do what it has done by and large this entire year, if they can hang in there for a while and get through a couple of key injuries. We've talked about Shin-Soo Choo, and he's going to miss a significant amount of time with a broken thumb. Matt Laporta, their regular first baseman. But if Hafner, once they get back into using the DH again, a healthy Santana, a healthier Grady Sizemore, if that indeed proves to be the case, There's a lot of upside, it would seem, offensively for Cleveland.
No question. It looks like they're starting to swing the bats a little bit better of late. They went into San Francisco just over a week ago and got swept. They gave up 8 runs, did the Cleveland Indians, and got swept in 3 games. That shows you just how strong the San Francisco Giants pitching staff is. But once they got out of San Francisco, they took 2 out of 3 from the Arizona Diamondbacks, and here they are trying to take the first 2 of this series.
Runner goes, and it swung on and fouled out of play. Two and 2 on Santana. Fouled away again. Bailey has had to really work on a very hot day here in the 3rd after 2 very easy innings to begin the ball game. And there you see the opponent batting average through the lineup the first time. Very, very good. Still very good the second time through the order. 3rd time through, and again, you got to look at the sample size, though, so far. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's made 6 starts.
Right, and that's usually typical of most major league pitchers. But that is certainly a very high number there late, and that's when Dusty Baker probably knows I've got to have 2 arms in my bullpen ready come about the 7th inning when Homer Bailey's out there. But these Indians really making him work here in the 3rd, as you said, on a very, very warm day. Boy, beautiful sellout crowd here. Well, nothing gets a ball player more revved up than playing in front of a full boat.
Phillips for a 1 relay throw to first, not going to be in time. Santana gets up the line pretty well. That ball's not hit very hard. So there are 2 away in the inning, and like Fox Sports on Facebook, and you can win sports gear. Enter today at facebook.com/Fox Sports, where you'll find exclusive news, video, and games. Log on today to facebook.com/Fox Sports, and go ahead. Why not like us? You're a big Facebook guy, aren't you, Gracie?
Well, sure. Sounds good.
I mean, you're in the whole world now of Twitter and Facebook and all that kind of thing. I strike one to Grady's size more.
Unfortunately, haven't quite graduated into the next millennium.
Much has been made about Brandon Phillips. Nobody in the world has been better. And I'm not a Twitter guy, and I don't follow anybody's Twittering or whatever it is. But, I mean, now you talk about a guy who has really done some remarkable things via Twitter. Case in point, 2 trips ago, the Reds were out in San Francisco, and we'll continue this story in a moment. But Brandon Phillips, he's met fans for dinner. He's met them for a cup of coffee. He's flown him to San Francisco. And this one flies out of the park. Off the bat of Brantley for a 3-0 Cleveland lead. Herman. Their bullpen, they bring on Frank Herman, 26-year-old, who broke into the major leagues for the first time, appearing in 40 games last year. And we told you up and down this year, 4 separate occasions.
They're going to, Maniac, they're going to try to just get Herman, maybe try to get him a couple innings at least before he can go to those main cogs of his bullpen.
Boy, they've got some good ones.
Oh.
Of course, their closer is Chris Perez, a one-time St. Louis Cardinal. It's 0-2 on Drew Stubbs leading off the inning. Rafael Perez from the left side. Well, they love Pescado. He has electric stuff. The youngster out of their bullpen, Tony Sipp and Joe Smith. I mean, not household names by any means. And there's good morning, good afternoon, and good night for Herman against Stubbs to begin the bottom of the inning.
3-pitch strikeout to start his afternoon. So, and you were talking about Brandon Phillips before we went to the last break, Tommy.
You know, it really is amazing. Earlier today, he sent out on Dat Dude BP, that's his Twitter site. Guess who's rocking the microphone today during the Reds game on Fox today? As he normally does. We try not to wear him out, but he's certainly one of the more engaging players in the game today is Brandon Phillips. Well, we were in San Francisco a couple of weeks ago, and the Reds were out there playing the Giants. 2 young college students, 2 youngsters from here in Cincinnati. One was a freshman, I think, at Duke. The other was a freshman at Indiana.
Okay.
And Brandon Phillips sent out on Twitter, said, anybody that can guess my jersey number when I played high school football in Georgia will be joining the Reds with me in San Francisco. Well, one of the guys guessed the number, 22. He got it right. The next thing he knows, he and another friend of his are on their way to San Francisco.
On Brandon's dime.
On Brandon Phillips, paid for their airfare, for their hotel. And not only that, once they got there, they played a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday series. On Friday, he spent the entire day with those 2 young men whom he had never met. Took him down to Fisherman's Wharf, took him to breakfast.
Yeah, San Francisco's a great city to go hang out in.
Rode the cable cars with him. Earlier this year, the Reds went into Chicago, sent out on Twitter, said, look, I want to know where everybody would recommend I go to dinner tonight. They left here after a day game, got in early in Chicago, only about a 45-minute flight from here. Next thing you know, fans write in and say, well, if you'll meet us over at such and such, we'll buy your dinner. He said, I'll see you there. But the best story locally was during an off day this year. A young man writes in, says, hey, Brandon, if you have nothing going on, I have a high school baseball game, a freshman baseball game over in such and such part of town.
I'd love to have you come attend.
Next thing you know, he's standing there in the first inning and watches the entire game.
Oh, man, that just tells you what kind of heart this kid has.
He is a really good guy. Mom and Dad have been married for nearly 30 years. Grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and man, can he play.
One of the best second basemen I've ever seen. And I played with Ryan Sandberg for a lot of years, the Hall of Famer. And this kid is just electrifying out there defensively. He just loves to play. You can just see it.
That is a fair ball down to third, and Chisenhall a good throw over to first, and Herman retires the first 2 in their Reds' 3rd inning. Well, the Reds had scoring chances in the first with a runner at second and 1 out. Wound up leaving Stubbs at third base. They had 2 on with 1 out in the second. Wound up stranding 2. Now Herman comes on from the bullpen, replacing Carmona. If we get any word from the Cleveland clubhouse as to his condition, we'll let you know. But that was an ugly crash he had, running a straight line from home plate to first base.
He just was so in his desperation to get to first base, he just got a misstep. I mean, that was a violent fall. I mean, it just hurt to watch. And Fausto had to come out of the ball game.
It's a fly ball down the left field line. It's out of play. You weren't with us. Here's the way it looked.
Drops a good bunt, and then that's when the fun ends. Well,
3-1 Nevada.
The good news is for Fausto Carmona, he won't have to hit again the rest of the year.
To Nevada. Of course, that was on the heels of what happened the final out in the bottom of the second inning.
Yeah, he takes a one-hopper right off his pitching hand. He ends up making the play and getting out of a first and third scrape. So that might also be part of the reason why he was removed from the ball game. This city saw for years and years, for decades, one of the great head-first sliders of all time in Pete Rose. An easy inning for Herman. Well, Fausto Carmona is no Pete Rose.
End of 3. It's 3-0 Cleveland in front.
Probably the biggest difference. I try to keep it simple, not make it too complicated.
After being called up, the youngster Lonnie Chisenhall had a great spring, and many were surprised that he was sent back to minor league camp so early. He was batting .500.
Goodness.
But the idea was for Chisenhall to play the entire year at AAA Columbus, and the next year be brought up, if not maybe when the roster is expanded this year in September. But after really so little production, the Indians were getting it through. They figured, why not? And as manager was talking about him today, he said this guy is going to be a really, really good player.
And we think he would have been here sooner, but he was asked a base hit out to left field. Right on cue, Tom Brenneman. But he suffered a concussion down in the minor leagues, so that set him back a little bit. But boy, he's showing no signs of any wear and tear there, as he just promptly bangs one out to left center field, and right back come the Cleveland Indians here in the fourth.
That's 5 hits in his first, 14 major league at bats. Nothing wrong with that.
I like seeing the fact that he can take a pitch and drive it the other way as well as pull the baseball.
So now Austin Kearns, a batter. He looks at strike 3 to end the second inning. Bailey cruised through the front 2. And now has allowed back-to-back hits to begin the fourth after giving up 3 runs in the third. Well, today's game from Cincinnati, presented by AT&T, is sponsored by Warner Brothers Pictures' Crazy Stupid Love in theaters July the 29th.
Huh?
And by Valvoline NextGen. You better go check that out. Starting July the 29th. Crazy Stupid Love.
Well, I can't say I've never been there.
What, crazy or stupid or
all
love?
of the above.
Here's ball 1 to Lou Marson.
A really nice play there by Hannigan to save a would-be wild pitch.
Well, you got your number 8 hole hitter here, and a guy who literally never bats standing in the on-deck circle, so they're going to give Marson a chance, obviously, to swing the bat even with 2 on and nobody out.
Well, now, with Homer Bailey missing with back-to-back breaking balls to go to 2-0, Lou Marson has just turned Homer Bailey into a one-pitch pitcher, and that's going to be a fastball. Now, he can look for one fastball in one spot, and if he gets it, he can swing it with bad intentions here now. Ended up chasing one just out of the zone. Good pitch there by Bailey, strike 1.
So 2-1 to Marson. He started a 3-run rally in the third inning with a leadoff single in the center field and scored on a 3-run home run by Brantley, the only 3 runs for either team in the game thus far. Cubs and the White Sox are scoreless. That game in the top of the 5th inning at Wrigley Field. Marson waited too long on Bailey to okay the sign with Ryan Hannigan, so he asked for timeout. He'll get right back in there, but now Hannigan can come out and talk to Bailey.
And the other thing about the on-deck hitter in Herman, and here's a guy that's a long reliever in the American League. There's a good chance he has no idea about the signs from the third baseman or anything to that point. So I'm sure before he gets in there, the third base coach is going to have to come down and say, oh, by the way, you know, if they would want to try and put a squeeze on or something like that. He's never had an at-bat.
Even in the minor leagues?
Never.
Two and one the count on Marson with 2 on and nobody out. And a good fastball, well-located fastball in the outside corner to even the count.
Yeah, that was a thing of beauty right there, right to the outside corner at the knees. Perfect pitch.
Two and two the count. Got him swinging, and that's a big out for Bailey and the Reds with a pitcher coming up. Brandon Phillips wearing a microphone. Let's listen in our Fox sounds of the game.
Where y'all go after this?
We're home for 7 till the All-Star break.
Okay. Well, y'all lucky, man. We on the road to All-Star break. St. Louis and Milwaukee. Y'all still in first place, right?
I think we may be a half game back now.
Oh, really?
Maybe on the off day, I think they fixed it.
Not reading the standings part of the sports section yet. They're a half game in front going into play today.
The young man knows a valuable lesson. Well, if you don't read the paper, I guess you can't believe the headlines. But you got to know where you are in the standings. He was a game off, wasn't he?
He was. There's a bunt. Roland will throw to second. They get the out there. And so Herman getting
really
his
nice
first
play.
professional at bat. Puts down a bunt. They cut down the runner at second, so they're on the corners with 2 away in the inning. Or at least he got it down.
He got it down. He also realized that there's a play, but boy, off balance, and he ended up getting it there before Austin Kearns. So no sacrifice for Herman. But Michael Brantley will now hit with runners on the corners.
Of course, he came up there with 2 on in the 3rd inning. And you know what he did? A 3-run home run to right field, his 6th of the year.
Well, his daddy was an awfully good hitter. Mickey Brantley with the Seattle Mariners for a lot of years.
Well, that leadoff spot has certainly been a power spot for the Indians this year. They lead the American League in home runs with now 11 out of the leadoff spot. 5 by Brantley and 6 of them by Sizemore. And boy, when Sizemore is at the top of his game,
oh, he's an all-star.
So many things he could do to hurt you batting in that #1 spot.
Great speed. He's got big-time power. And if he hits a ball in the gap, it's a triple.
0-1 to Brantley. And what a play by Hannigan, preventing a 4th Cleveland run.
Goodness gracious. That is just a big-time play right there by Ryan Hannigan. How does he do it? Well, I don't know. Sometimes you got to get a little lucky as well. And he came up with it clean, folks. When you've got a guy back there that's just a wall. Now pitchers aren't afraid to bounce a breaking ball. They're not afraid. They don't think they just have to throw fastballs with a guy on 3rd base.
Well, he threw a fastball there and beat Brantley this time. It's in the air to Giannis on the outfield grass, and the inning is over. A couple of hits, 2 men left. Middle of the 4th, Bailey and the Reds trailing the Indians 3-0. Cincinnati on this Saturday afternoon in the Queen City. We go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Frank Herman in for the injured Fausto Carmona, who had to leave the game after tumbling his way into the first base bag, actually beyond it, after putting down a bunt back in the Cleveland 3rd inning. And still no word yet from the Indians clubhouse as to his condition.
Let's hope he's okay. I mean, it was a major tumble. It was scary, actually, now looking back at it. It kind of has a comical side to it at first until you realize you had to come out of the ball game.
Scott Rowland, Jay Bruce, Johnny Gomes against Herman. An undrafted free agent Herman pitched collegiately at Harvard University, where he went to Harvard planning on playing both football and baseball. Decided just on baseball. Wound up getting his economics degree from Harvard. So not a bad degree to fall back on one day down the road.
We rarely say smart and ball player in the same sentence, but
unless they come out of San Diego State.
That's a good point. I call that the Harvard of the West.
Ball out of play, 1 and 2. Are you the only one that calls it that, or are there others?
Oh, I'm sure there's lots of us that do.
Tony Gwynn, maybe?
Tony Gwynn, sure. The all-time great Aztec. Marshall Faulk was one of the best running backs of all time as well out of San Diego State.
2 and 2 on Rowland. Two and 2 to count on Rowland. And swung on and fouled out of play. Here in a moment we'll have some highlights from Toronto and Philadelphia. Of course, Scott Rowland knows all about those two teams. Broke in initially with Philadelphia, and after many years as a Cardinal, spent 2 years in Toronto before coming here to Cincinnati. Two and 2 again to Rowland, and again fouled back out of play. Was today a very, I'm sure, emotional day for Roy Halladay.
Oh, of course.
Pitching today for Philadelphia. You see at the bottom of your screen the Phillies a 5-3 win with Halladay on the mound earlier today in Toronto.
The return of Doc Halladay. Boy, he had some great years up there in Toronto. He's having great years as well in Philadelphia. As the battle continues here between Herman and Rowland.
DirecTV game break. They welcome back Doc Halladay, and in the 7th inning his team gave him a lead on the long ball by Chase Utley, and then Halladay took care of business after that, notching his 11th win, which ties him for the National League lead with Jair Jurgens. Get every major league game and the most in high def by calling 1-800-DirecTV. Ground ball to third. So Herman wins the battle inside this war against Rowland for the first out here in the 4th inning. So, you get into the whole debate about, what pitchers will be in the All-Star game, what pitchers will start the All-Star game. The conundrum over the American League is, with this rule about, for both leagues, if you pitch on that Sunday before the break, you're not allowed to pitch in the game.
Well, there's a lot of guys scheduled, isn't there, on Sunday that could go to the All-Star game, or at least should go to the All-Star game.
Well, John Lester from Boston scheduled to start Sunday before the break, as is CC Sabathia, as is Justin Verlander. So
what a year he's had, Verlander.
Those names right there, and we'll get back to them, and Gracie address them if you will, are probably some of the candidates to start the game for the American League.
You just naming those guys that you just named, that's right out of the gate. That's kind of disadvantage to the American League. Ogondo got back on track as that one's hit out to right field. Not enough today.
They're 2 away in the inning. Josh Beckett has been on quite a roll here of late up until his last start. Hit a little bump in the road against the Philadelphia Phillies. Over the National League, as great as Halladay has been for so many years, it's hard to envision anybody starting for the National League ahead of Jair Jurgens of the Atlanta Braves. He's the only pitcher in the league with an ERA of under 2.
Right.
He is tied with Halladay for the most wins in the league. Kevin Correa of the Pirates also has 10.
And that's a good story, the Pittsburgh Pirates as well. Over 500. A team that was 50 games under 500 last year. So good for the Pirates. What a job Clint Hurdle's done with that squad.
Boy, it sure has. 2 outs, nobody on. It's been a very quiet offensive day for the Reds here against first Carmona and now Herman. One and two to Gomes on a breaking ball.
And he just buckled him with a breaking ball right to the inside corner. I'll tell you what, for a guy that probably wasn't expecting to do too much pitching today, Herman's just come out and made it look easy to this point.
That one hit down the right field line, and that is a foul ball. We were talking about that All-Star game for a minute, and you talked about, perhaps a disadvantage the American League could be, especially as far as their starting pitcher or any of their best pitchers, period, pitching in the game. I mean, that's all they've been talking about in Boston and Philadelphia the entire week after those two teams locked up in Philly, with the Phillies winning 2 out of 3 over the Red Sox. The fact that if these two teams meet, you get home field advantage. There's a ground ball down to third, and 2 perfect innings for Herman. We'll get back to that topic in a moment, but the bottom line is, well, the Red Sox are at a big-time disadvantage not having the DH. City 9-game interleague road trip for the second straight year. Mark Grace mentioned earlier they started the trip getting swept 3 in a row in San Francisco, went to Arizona. A contending team in the NL West beat the Diamondbacks 2 out of 3. They won the opener here in Cincinnati last night and lead 3-0 as we begin the 5th inning on this Saturday afternoon. 0-2 on Orlando Cabrero's 1 out of 2, a singled and fly to right. And now, Gracie, I want to get your thoughts about this whole interleague thing. And,
okay.
Every single year when the American League teams play in the National League, they have to, have their pitchers back playing by National League rules, traditional baseball rules before the advent of the DH. And I know you feel quite strongly about situations like this where guys all of a sudden who at one time played in the field during their career, Jim Thome, has not played in the field since 2007, slightly longer than the man out of the lineup for Cleveland right now, and Travis Hafner. And the last time he was on the field defensively was June of 2007.
And if you talk to Manny Acta, his manager, well, he's just beside himself because Travis Hafner is a huge weapon for the Cleveland Indians. I mean, this guy's hitting nearly 340, and he can't be used at all in the National League Park unless late in the game as a pinch hitter. Well, it's not something he's used to doing, and he's probably realizing it's very difficult to do. So guys like, well, you saw it with David Ortiz. David Ortiz put a glove on the other day, and Gonzalez had to go out to right field, but they just felt like, and you said, let's just say the Cleveland Indians end up representing the American League in the World Series. You know, stranger things have happened. Now, if the National League wins the All-Star game, then they're going to get the home field advantage, and that's just more times that Travis Hafner's not going to be able to play. And I just think it would behoove Travis to just go up to his manager and say, man, I'll put a glove on and go play first base for you for a couple of these games if that's all right with you. And I guarantee you Manny Acta would say, okay, please. Because, I mean, this guy can mash a baseball, Travis Hafner.
Now, we know that Hafner's had a lot of shoulder issues as Dribble Cabrera goes down on strikes, but I mean, look, you were a guy that won a lot of Gold Gloves. You probably should have won a lot more than you ended up winning. I think everybody would agree you were the best defensive first baseman in the National League for well over a decade. When a guy hasn't done it for so long, I mean, are you really asking somebody to do something that's just totally, you know, unreasonable? And we're not saying you're picking on Hafner. I mean, obviously, you know, the manager can walk up to him and say, look, I need you to go out a week before we start playing interleague baseball and taking ground balls and throws again at first base, right?
Yes, and I just know, and knowing Travis Hafner the way we know him, he's got to be dying over there sitting on the bench with nothing to do. I would think, hey, whatever, here. Even if I go out there and I don't play all that well, at least I'm going to get 4 at bats. You know, and trust me, I guarantee you, this is a pretty good defensive team on the infield. He's not going to get too many bad throws over there, and I don't think he's a big old boy. I don't think he's going to get hurt. So yeah, I just think next year when it comes down to, because this is the last interleague series of the year, but I just think it would behoove him maybe in spring training take some ground balls over there and maybe help your, who knows, because they've struggled in interleague play on the road. You know, at the National League ballparks the last couple of years. It might make a big difference in the standings.
2-2 on Carlos Santana. Hafner has only been used for 5 pinch hitting appearances during this stretch of interleague games for the Indians this year. And you're talking about a team that conceivably, you know, come the end of the year, you might look back on 1 or 2 games as to giving you a divisional championship or not winning a divisional championship. Jam shot pop up, shallow left, and this will fall in a base hit. On his way to second, here comes a throw, and in there safely is Santana with a 2-out double.
Well, thinking double all the way out of the box. He gets jammed, as you said. Now, okay, I better get on the move. Johnny Gomes can't get to it. And by the time he gets it back in with a strong throw, sliding in there is Carlos Santana. It's just good baseball, aggressive baseball. Why not try to get in scoring position with 2 outs? And Grady Sizemore an opportunity here with a runner in scoring position.
Well, that's just running into a little luck there by Santana, but all of a sudden you're standing in scoring position with 2 men out.
So that's a good chance to take with nobody on and 2 out. Go ahead and try to stretch that into a double. Well, he made it safely.
Strike 1 to Sizemore, who twice has bounced out to Brandon Phillips. Top of the 5th inning is quiet sellout crowd for a second straight day here in Cincinnati with very little to cheer about. Indians jumped all over them last night early in an 8-2 win. And the 3-run home run by Brantley comes in the 3rd inning today, and the Reds only have 2 hits. And both of those came in the first 2 innings.
And that's how you win on the road. You take the crowd out of it by scoring early, and that's what the Cleveland Indians did last night en route to an 8-2 victory here at Great American Ballpark. And then after a crazy play, ended up being an error on Paul Janisch. A 2-0 fastball got torched as strike three. Homer Bailey's pieced it back together. Now it's just a matter if the Cincinnati Reds can score any runs.
Sponsored by AT&T. Rethink possible. Well, here in Cincinnati over the weekend, the home of the Underground Railroad Museum, right next door to the ballpark. Fox would like to welcome and acknowledge the League of United Latin American Citizens, LULAC, one of the country's oldest Latino civil rights organizations. Today they culminate their annual convention with the President's celebration here at Great American Ballpark. LULAC's national president, Margaret Moran, in for the ball game today. We hope they're enjoying the action. Vicente Fox, a former president of Mexico, was in town here the last couple of days, and hopefully they've enjoyed their time over the weekend.
And meanwhile, Frank Herman right back to the bump he goes. He's been, well, perfect in his 2 innings. And another easy little pop-up out to second base. 1 pitch, 1 out.
Boy, he's making it look easy indeed. 7 in a row retired without even breaking a sweat. And really, this is, you're getting an idea of what a lot of Reds fans have seen during what has been basically a .500 season thus far, coming off a National League Central Division title a year ago. You look up at the runs scored column, and the Reds are among the leaders offensively, not only in the National League, and all of Major League Baseball. But really, it has been the play of about 4 or 5 maximum positions, and then time to time getting contributions from other positions, that has been the Red story in a nutshell. There's a bouncing ball through the right side into right field, and they have a lot of fans here in town that wonder why the organization has not made some kind of a move, whether it be at shortstop, whether it be at left field, whether it be even behind the plate. With Devin Mesoraco, their former #1 pick, having a big year at AAA, if for no other reason than to just shake things up a little bit. Not to say that any position anywhere on the field you're going to bring up a quote-unquote savior.
Right.
But the Reds minor league system, by all accounts, is loaded with players who are not only knocking at the door, they're kicking the door down to try and put up numbers to be with a major league club. And certainly their general manager, Walt Jocketty, is keeping an eye on, the likes of Zach Cozart, highly touted shortstop. There's a bunt by Bailey, and he's tagged out for the second out of the inning.
And that's a smart play there by Carlos Santana. Not really a lot of experience at first base, but with one out, if your opponent is giving you a sacrifice, which means they're giving you an out, go ahead and take it. Don't let that ball go foul. Go ahead and take the out. Now it takes a 2-out base hit to score the run. So that ball looked like it could have gone foul, but he just said, heck with it. I'm going to take the out and take that much-needed second out of this inning.
So now Drew Stubbs, the batter. He singled on the very first pitch of the game by Fausto Carmona. Wound up being stranded at third base in that first inning. And he looks at ball one down low. And just to finish the thought about, the Reds are going to have a couple of players playing the futures game. Mesoraco, Yonder Alonso, former #1 pick out of Miami of Florida. Their reigning minor league player of the year last year, Dave Sapelt, who was their best player during spring training this year, just came back from a recent injury. And so they feel like, or at least a lot of the fans feel like, how it goes, Gracie, in every town. They're screaming and yelling and saying, why not get him up here? Hall of Famer Joe Morgan now working on a full-time basis for the Reds alongside Walt Jocketty.
Two very good baseball minds right there. And I would imagine, Tom, that Jocketty, Morgan, and the rest of the decision makers here in Cincinnati, because that's a high fastball, swung and fouled back. I just think that probably they're going to let things go, see how things pan out until about the All-Star break, and then see, okay, did they make a late push here before the All-Star break? Or did they fall back a little more? Now you may start to have, they may force you to make a move if they don't play well going up to this week before the All-Star break.
And make no mistake about it. I mean, it may not be make or break time as Rafael Perez gets ready in the bullpen. But certainly this will be the biggest road trip and the biggest back-to-back series of the year Cincinnati will play so far, starting on Monday night.
No question. You get Milwaukee and St. Louis. Drew Stubbs staying alive. That's kind of been a problem for Drew Stubbs. This is a guy with just a load of talent. I mean, he can do everything and do everything well, but one thing he does too much of is strike out. He strikes out way too much for a guy that, when he puts the ball in play, is such a threat because of his great speed. You're not putting any pressure on the opposing defense when you're Drew Stubbs if you're just striking out as much as he has this year.
113 times, which is by far the most in the National League, by far. And there's another. One hit, one left. We played 5 in Cleveland with a 3-0 lead. CLE is sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball across the country. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Alongside Mark Grayson, our entire Fox crew, our producer Larry Lancaster, our director Ray Tipton and company, I'm Tom Brenneman. Great to have you with us over this 4th of July weekend. And we understand for Ray Tipton, our director, who also directs Philadelphia Phillies baseball, today's celebrating a birthday. So happy birthday, Mr. Tipton.
Happy birthday, Ray.
3-0 ball game. Cleveland in front. That one hit a country mile, but foul on the first pitch to begin. The top of the 6th inning off the bat of Lonnie Chisenhall.
Boy, a long strike. I mean, that one almost got over the bleachers and was headed towards the Ohio River. They've been raving about this young man, Chisenhall. And I like that right there from Homer Bailey. Come right back with a fastball. And that time he beat him with it, and now he's 0-2.
Well, you talked about it. After the strikeout of Sizemore to end the 5th inning, the 6th strikeout of the game by Bailey, who has not walked about it. Now you go back to that 3rd inning, we talked about a 2nd straight start for Bailey since coming off the DL. Where a misplayed defensively. Boy, he just chewed up Chisenhall there. You used to say all the time when we worked together, when you're the hitter, you say what?
Oh, dear. I mean, that one got right on the batting gloves. Oh, dear. That'll hurt your feelings right there. And that's what I liked about Homer Bailey in that situation. First fastball he throws, Chisenhall hits it a mile, just foul. What's he do? He comes back with 2 more fastballs and just retires him easily. That's tough pitching right there.
Fastball up to Austin Kearns, ball 1, but his last start off the DL, there was a pop-up in the infield where Joey Votto was not charged with an error, but a routine pop-up in between the plate and the first base bag that Votto lost in the sun on a Sunday afternoon. And the very next batter, Derek Lee, hit a 3-run homer. Well, today there was 1 on, nobody out. Carmona put down the bunt. Roland made the throw to Paul Yanish at 2nd. But Yanish never had a foot on the bag. So Carmona reached safely at 1st, although he had to leave the game with an injury. Marson was safe at 2nd. The very next batter, Brantley, hit a 3-run home run, the only 3 runs allowed by Bailey today.
3 pitches later, ended up being 3 runs later. Bailey still throwing very hard. That was 94 miles an hour. Just missed the outside corner. So on a hot day, he's going into his 6th inning. There still seems to be plenty in the tank for Homer Bailey.
Bailey will challenge with a fastball. And tardy on the 3-1 pitch is Kearns. The count is full.
Still very proud of his fastball. He should be. He's got a good fastball today. Just one bad pitch has been the story of this day. A mistake behind him. He ended up putting a couple of runners on base. And after a little bit of an injury delay, had to call a tow truck and get Fausto Carmona out of here. A 3-run homer.
Foul ball. Well, we hope we're all able to chuckle about the Carmona play down there at first base when all is said and done. I mean, because let's face it, I mean, all of us are, guilty of chuckling about things like that from time to time.
Because we've all been there.
Absolutely. 3-2 breaking ball off the outside corner. If you're all with us.
Oh, yeah, we've all taken a tumble over the course of our lives, but not on national TV. called all the King's horses and all the King's men, but they couldn't get it done, so Fausto had to leave the ball game. And he's been replaced very admirably here this afternoon by Frank Herman.
Now the Indians have a pinch hitter standing in the on-deck circle. Herman's spot is up. You brought up earlier, you probably hope 2-3 innings he gives you. Well, he gave you 3 innings of one-hit shutout baseball, and this will be a double play, which will end the inning. So we'll take a look and see whether or not Herman comes back out to the mound for the last of the 6th.
Given Manny Acta and the Indians 3 terrific innings, but now they turn it over to the guys that have been doing it all year. And the first guy to introduce himself to the Cincinnati Reds tonight is left-hander Rafael Perez, who is just, well, in a phrase, just having a dynamite year.
Well, 5 of the top 20 ERAs in the American League among relief pitchers are Cleveland Indians. Joe Smith, number 1. The others include Perez, the rookie Pestano, and Tony Sipp. Now, the Cleveland closer, Chris Perez, was put on the bereavement list after the loss of his grandmother down in Gainesville, Florida. So he is not with the team. And either Sipp or Pestano will fill the closer's role without Perez here. Certainly our thoughts and prayers to his entire family. So Brandon Phillips, Joey Votto, Scott Rowland to start things here in the Cincinnati 6th inning. And that was one of your keys to the game, Mark Grace, was hand this Indians bullpen the lead at the end of 6. We'll see how it plays out.
Well, they've gotten through 5 with Carmona and with Herman. Now you hand it to these guys, and they've been doing it all year for you. So I'm sure Manny Acta very comfortable with where he's at in this ball game. The only problem that may end up rearing its ugly head in this situation, Tom, is later on in the week when you have to use your bullpen as much as you're having to use it here tonight, you may just have some tired fellas out there for tomorrow afternoon's ball game.
Now let's not forget they will go back to Cleveland, but it will be no easy lead up to the All-Star break for the Indians. They've got the New York Yankees for 3 and the Toronto Blue Jays for 4. There's a tapper fielded by Cabrera, and his throw is in time, and Santana keeps his toe on the bag. We invite you to help make a baseball moment kids will never forget. Please go to ChevyBaseball.com and support youth baseball. Plus, you can enter to win one of the 4 trips to the 2011 Major League Baseball All-Star Game and the keys to a new Chevrolet. Of course, the All-Star Game right here on Fox from Phoenix, Arizona, where you have called home for many, many years, Mark Grace, and a lot of people may not remember. For those of us that were there, we will never forget. Now, you won a World Series title in a Diamondbacks uniform, but spent the overwhelming majority of your career with the Cubs, and as a visiting player, you were the first player ever to hit a home run into the swimming pool at then Bank One Ballpark.
That is true. And you had that game. Strike 2 to Votto. And going back to the piecing together the bullpen and possibly having to use guys and maybe having guys tired for tomorrow, that's why it was so important that Manny Acta got a masterpiece out of Justin Masterson last night here, giving him 8 innings, giving that bullpen a much needed blow. Wow.
Boy, Perez just wore out the left-handed batting Votto on 3 pitches. Oh, speaking of that home run, the first ever into the swimming pool back in Arizona off Andy Bettis. May the 12th, the Diamondbacks' inaugural year of 1998, a splashdown for Mark Grace. How about that?
That was a skinny Mark Grace. Man, you can see food's come into my life since then.
Absolutely. Well, that was, you know, when it first started, the novelty of that, and a lot of fans remember when it happened, and certainly you were there as a player, and I was there a couple of years ahead of time as a Diamondbacks employee, and that was such a cool idea, I thought. A lot of people said, it's hokey and all that kind of thing. For the fans, they loved it. At the end of the day, that's all that mattered, and it didn't affect anybody on the field.
I think at the end of the day, when you think if you've ever been out to Phoenix, just about every home has a pool. Well, the Diamondbacks were thinking, well, this is our home. We're going to have a swimming pool. And you'd be surprised. A lot of people like to go out there and taking a ball game out there. You know, if there's a ball hitting the gap out there, you've got both outfielders, coming right to the wall, right where you're at.
1-1 to Roland. And that's in the air, hit hard the other way, tailing away from the right fielder Kearns. Here comes the throw in a second, and Roland diving in with a double. He'll stay right there.
Well, for the first time in a long time, these Cincinnati Red fans have something to cheer about. They got a 2-out rope off the bat of Scott Rowland, and now it's time to hustle because he realized that Austin Kearns has a terrific arm still. And this is a very close play. A one-hop perfect throw, but Rowland diving in just ahead of it. And now an opportunity for Jay Bruce with 2 outs and a runner on second base. And Tim Belcher, the pitching coach for the Cleveland Indians, going to come out and have a conversation here with Perez.
Tim Belcher, a native Buckeye. Boy, what a good pitcher he was. You faced him many, many times, Mark.
He was one of those, I'm not going to say he was as good as this guy, but he had the same style and the same mechanics as Tom Seaver. Just a drop and drive, hard-throwing right-hander. A real good guy and a guy that knows his stuff when it comes to pitching.
Graduated from Highland High School in Sparta, Ohio, and has never left the Buckeye State despite his many travels in the big leagues with the Dodgers at first, later the Reds, 1 year with the White Sox, Detroit, Seattle. Won 14 or more 3 years in a row in Kansas City, and then wrapped things up with Anaheim. Here's Jay Bruce, and he takes a breaking ball low.
I would imagine Perez going to try to duplicate what he did to Joey Votto. You don't see Joey Votto get his clock cleaned like that very often. This is a reigning MVP of the National League, and Perez just disposed of him on 3 pitches. But a big at-bat here for the Cincinnati Reds and Jay Bruce.
Left-hander's batting .226 going into play today against Perez. He's not allowed a home run to a left-handed batter. And it's interesting to note that among all National League players, the top 2 left-handed batters in the National League going back to the start of last year against left-handed pitching are Votto and Bruce.
That's saying something. That means you have zero fear of that fastball in. That means there it is. That one's upstairs. You can see Perez has a terrific slider. That's what he got Joey Votto on to strike him out. But he also has low to mid 90s with the fastball as well.
Runner at second, 2 out. We're in the Cincinnati 6th inning with Cleveland leading 3-0. They have not lost to the Reds this year in the first 4 games. And a tapper to the right side, and this will end the inning. So rock solid out of the bullpen for Perez. We go to the 7th, and we're back after a break from your local Fox station. Baseball from Cincinnati, presented by AT&T. Rethink possible. And the Indians thinking what many felt like would be the impossible, and that's winning the American League Central Division title this year. I mean, I think most people felt like, or most people, the so-called experts, probably have the Indians, what, 4th?
I would think,
at
yes.
Best?
Well, I think most people have forgotten already that the defending champion in this division is the Minnesota Twins, and they've had a tough time with injuries and just lack of production. So I think most people probably thought, well, the Minnesota Twins and the Detroit Tigers, they'll probably battle it out, and you know, the Royals and Indians will be down at the bottom again. Well, these youngsters have had a lot to say about that this year in 2011.
Cord Phelps coming off the bench to bat for Perez, who goes an inning, a scoreless inning, allows a hit, gets a strikeout. And I wouldn't count out, and I know you're not, Mark Grace, a little too early still to count out that Minnesota team. They've been so injured, more so than any team in the American League this year, especially the key players in a smaller market franchise without a ton of depth. But at only 8 games back, you know, all of a sudden they won what now going into play today, they won 3 in a row.
Well, and last year after the All-Star break, I don't know if they lost more than 4 or 5 games. They were just that good in the second half and just ran away with it.
Liner into right field, right at Bruce, and Phelps retired to begin the 7th inning. Well, Brandon Phillips wearing the microphone. He's our Just for Men Keep Your Edge spotlight of the ball game.
Good. I stick with that one.
You got that gray color coming in now.
Look at it. Great. I'm holding it.
Hey, man, you getting old, man.
35 good for you catching.
I know. Hey, that's good, though, 35 catches. I'm glad you can walk. When you get, hey, but you're going to be like this later on.
Might be. Well, you know how hard it is to get up in the morning? First 5 steps? Oh, boy. Not comfortable. You just go one to the other one.
Brandon Phillips gives the Reds the edge. You too can keep your edge with Just for Men, mustache and beard. Ribbon Ramon Hernandez about some of the gray coming in on that beard.
I was just about to say, I know how Ramon feels.
Indeed.
Unfortunately, in my go-to, there's starting to be a little more salt than pepper.
A lot more. Michael Brantley, one swing of the bat back in that 3rd inning, a 3-run home run. Those are the only 3 runs today for either team. Homer Bailey has thrown the ball very well, having allowed 7 hits, 3 runs, struck out 6, walked only 1 pitching here into the 7th inning.
I'm sure Dusty Baker loving what he's seeing from Homer Bailey. Now he'd just love to see it every 5th day, a little more consistently the rest of the season.
Well, Bailey back now for his 2nd turn since coming off the disabled list. That one into straightaway center, will be out number 2. Well, the Reds really for the first time outside of about a 2-week stretch back in the month of May have the 5 guys they figured would make up their starting rotation when the year began outside of a flip-flop, and it really could have gone either way coming out of spring training between Mike Leake, the heralded rookie last year, Travis Wood, who finished the year as his replacement down the stretch at the end of last year. But now Brian Price, their pitching coach, has really the 5 guys they feel very comfortable with going to the post day in and day out. It's not been that way most of the year.
Hardly at all.
Johnny Cueto, were it not for starting the year on the disabled list, one could make an argument that Cueto might be among the top 3 or 4 pitchers right now in the National League.
No question.
He cannot qualify for the ERA because of the few number of starts that he has made. But Johnny Cueto, I mean, he's gone toe-to-toe with the best of the very best since coming off the disabled list. And Cueto with a 5-2 record and a 1.84 earned run average.
He's been terrific. Right now, a little meeting on the mound because Ron Culpa, the home plate umpire, took a shot on a foul ball. So just that fraternity of the guys that wear the gear. You hand the baseball to the catcher, and the catcher will go in, walk the ball out there, and give Ron Culpa or any home plate umpire a little time to recover.
Well, we've just received word from the Indians media relations department that Carmona left the game with a strained right quad muscle. So quad is in your thigh.
So that means in that tumble, that's where he got hurt.
That wasn't a tumble. That was a crash. Here's a 1-2 pitch. And it's back up through the middle and by a diving Yanni. vanish into center field. A base hit by Orlando Cabrera, second and 4 at-bats today. The 100th pitch of the afternoon upcoming for Bailey. He faces Asdrubal Cabrera, who was struck out, singled, a little blooper in the left, and then struck out again in the 5th. A big batter here for Bailey. You're already down 3-0, and a guy who can make it a 5-0 game with one crack of the bat.
And certainly the most dangerous hitter in the Cleveland Indian lineup. There you have it. Man.
Well, he'll find out tomorrow. He's on his way to Phoenix a week from Tuesday. There is no debate about that. Left-hander Bill Bray throwing in the bullpen. All-Star Selection Show presented by Taco Bell can be seen on TBS prior to all the action in Major League Baseball getting underway tomorrow at noon. We'll find out what players are headed to the All-Star game, and then what 5 players will be voted on by you, the fan. Now, you have seen Cabrera all week. Obviously, the guy's having a great year. But one thing we have seen here today, and a lot of it has to do, obviously, with location. And Bailey is a hard thrower, but Bailey has consistently beat Cabrera today on fastball.
No question. I think it looks to me like Cabrera's up there trying to see it first, trying not to commit to the fastball, maybe trying to use the big part of the ballpark. That would be center field and maybe the opposite field. Trying not to get too pull happy with Homer Bailey. And because of that, yeah, he's had some tardy swings on a lot of Homer Bailey fastballs. But he's one of those guys that he knows how to set a pitcher up, too. You just might get Homer Bailey thinking, well, I can get this fastball right by him. And he's going to get a changeup here. Let's see if he's ready. Yeah, but to me, he's just been a tough out. And that is, he's fouling off some tough pitches. He's not, even though he has struck out a couple of times, but he's just really made Homer Bailey work. And he's 1 for 3 here this afternoon with a base hit in the 3rd.
Struck him out for the 3rd time in the game.
Homer Bailey has been awfully good here this afternoon, folks.
Cabrera, you talked about, he can do it at the plate. And how about this one? Oh! Still can't believe that play.
Unbelievable.
Was that you hollering in the background?
I did once I saw it.
Michelin, a better way forward. And by Burger King, get the original chicken sandwich for just $1 for July 2, 3, and 4. Happy 4th of July weekend, all of you across the greatest country in the world, the United States of America, celebrating its birthday over this holiday weekend. And a pleasure to be with you from Cincinnati, where professional baseball began. Joe Smith, the #1 ERA among all American League relief pitchers so far this year, has allowed just 1 run over his last 19 appearances. That was an unearned run. The last time he gave up one of those was all the way back on May the 8th.
He works very quickly. You see the submarine delivery, but he still throws pretty hard from down there. Oh, man, just missed.
Johnny Gomes, Ryan Hannigan, Paul Giannis due up, then a pinch hitter, should we get that far, for the pitcher Homer Bailey. Carmona, Herman, and Perez working on a 4-hit shutout. 3-2 on Gomes to begin the 7th.
Reds looking for some kind of spark.
And there's ball 4 to begin the inning. Through a nationwide vote, fans have been selected the 2 finalists in the Midsummer Classics bracket tournament, pitting Cal Ripken's 2001 swan song against Stan Musial's game-ending home run in the 55 All-Star game. For the greatest moment in All-Star game history, join the debate. Go to MLB.com/moments to place your vote for either Cal or Stan the Man. We'll reveal the winner on our coverage from Phoenix, Arizona. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, a week from Tuesday. Major League Baseball's All-Star game on Fox. Ball 1 to Ryan Hannigan, and now conference on the mound, involving Smith, his catcher, and the right side of his infield.
Yeah, probably just a little pep talk after a leadoff walk. Missed with a couple of very close pitches. He didn't get the call.
Talked about Homer Bailey. He looked very good here today.
Yeah, he was fabulous. Brian Price got to be proud of what he got out of his young right-hander. What impressed me, Tom, is he fell behind, got in a 3-run hole early in the game with 1 bad pitch, a 3-run homer to Michael Brantley in the 3rd inning. Then after that, not only put 4 zeros up, but dominated the next 4 innings, and you kept your team in the ball game. And you know, there's more than enough firepower in this Reds lineup to erase a 3-run deficit just like that.
Of course, Joe Smith pitching in front of a lot of friends and family. He grew up about 20 miles east of Cincinnati, went to Amelia High School just across the county line. In fact, the Indians' last night's starter, Justin Masterson, grew up about 30 miles up the road, just in between Cincinnati and Dayton, Ohio. Here's a broken bat, foul ball. Now, we talk all the time when we do a Reds game. It is truly unbelievable for a part of the country that is not blessed with the greatest weather in the spring when high school baseball is going on. The USA Today a couple of years ago did a story about Tampa, Florida, and Cincinnati, Ohio. Per capita now, so take that into account. But per capita, those 2 cities, Tampa and Cincinnati, had produced the most Major League Baseball players among all cities in the United States of America, per capita.
And you're right. It's a bit surprising as Hannigan goes down swinging. 1 out there, an unproductive out. And you can see just why after that pitch, folks, just why this young man leads the American League in ERA. But just so many terrific athletes come out of this area. Baseball players, some great football players have come out of this area as well. We all know that, as well as basketball. I mean, it's a hotbed for basketball as well, this area.
Well, Fred Lewis will be sent up to bat for Paul Giannis. I mean, a lot of people watching our game today in Cincinnati are well aware, but I mean, heck, you just look at some of the big name players in the history of the game that are out of just this city alone. Pete Rose, Ken Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin. You know, you go back to Buddy Bell, David Justice, Kevin Youkilis in recent years.
Yeah. Gary Maddox.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Kent Tekulve on the mound. You know, talk about Billy Dorn and Ron Oster. I mean, you're just talking about player after player that really at so many different positions have been very good, if not some of the all-time greats in the history of the game.
And there's more to come. Trust me, folks. This is a hotbed.
Fred Lewis swings and fouls it out of play, and he's quickly behind 0-2. Lewis spent last year with Toronto and the Giants, came up originally with San Francisco, and was signed to a major league free agent contract during the offseason. Started the year on the DL and has gotten very little playing time, although he has played his best baseball as a Red here over the last couple of weeks. 0-2 on Lewis. Lewis has swung the bat well off the bench. 7 hits and 12 at bats. Renteria, last year's World Series most valuable player for the Giants, waits on deck. Two and two. Talking away about that outing from Bailey. This is going to be a tough play here. Cabrera had to battle the sun, and his throw is too late. You rarely ever hear about an infielder having to battle the sun on a ground ball, but it looked like that's what happened right there to Cabrera.
That's exactly what happened. Watch him shy away right here. I think he also didn't want a whole lot of the contact there from Johnny Gomes. And yeah, he lost the ball in the sun because of that now. The tying run is at the plate, and it's going to be another pinch hitter. It's going to be Edgar Renteria.
So the day officially over for Bailey. 7 innings, 8 hits, 3 runs, 2 earned. Struck out 7 and walked only 1 batter. And his Reds trying to, at the minimum, get him off the hook, if not find a way to score 4 and put him in line for a win. They're down 3-0 with 2 on and 1 out here in the 7th inning.
You can see this guy is just no fun for right-handed hitters. A quick 0-2 hole from Renteria.
Been a rough year for Renteria in his first season with Cincinnati. He's had such a great career.
Just missed. I think Edgar Renteria thanking his lucky stars right now that right arm of Ron Kolpa didn't come up. What do you think at home, folks? I think he's very fortunate.
1 and 2. They're going out there again, and it's a bouncing ball into right field, a base hit. They're going to hold Gomes. So now all of a sudden, a walk, an infield hit, a roller into right field, and the Reds have a tying run aboard and the go-ahead run coming to the plate.
How big is that non-call there? We saw a non-call a couple of times last night, and it cost the Tampa Bay Rays about 4 of their players when they were getting ejected after strike 3 was not called. Joe Smith having to keep his cool out there, and now the go-ahead run is at the plate just like that for the Cincinnati Reds. There's the pitch before. That certainly looks like strike 3. The very next one loaded the bases.
Well, now Drew Stubbs First pitch swinging, fouls it away. Stubbs has singled and struck out twice. Stubbs with 11 home runs and more than enough power to give Cincinnati the lead for the first time today.
This would be absolutely stealing one right here if the Reds could find a way to knot this thing up with maybe a gapper or even take the lead with a long ball.
Fastball taken right down the can that time.
He had to have been looking for that breaking ball because, like you said, that one split home plate right at the belt.
Left-hander Sip cranking it up. Breaking ball away. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes on Stubbs. Of course, Sip's getting ready for one guy and one guy only in this inning. On deck, you have right-handed batting Brandon Phillips. The guy he's getting ready for would follow in Joey Votto. And there's a tapper. They'll come to the plate. And they get the out. That's a nice play there by Chisenhall. And they're 2 away in the inning.
I think it's also a smart play by Chisenhall. Even though he's a youngster, I think he realizes just how well Stubbs runs. That's probably not going to be a double play ball, so he comes to the plate, gets the force out, and now Joe Smith just 1 out away from getting out of a nasty mess. But Brandon Phillips, he had 2 home runs here last evening, stands in his way. And to increase the drama, we're going to get a visit from Tim Belcher, the pitching coach.
Phillips has very good numbers batting with runners in scoring position, overall at .342 this year. So many times it seems like he gets something to hit because of the guy who is following him in the batting order, and he delivers. We talked about the 2 home runs last night. Hit number 999 and then hit number 1,000.
Now the Reds faithful finally a chance to make some noise.
So after the force out at home, you have Lewis at third, you have Renteria at second, and the fastest player on the team for the Reds is at first. We only bring it up because of a ball is in the gap. Stubbs not only the fastest Red, he might be the fastest guy in the league. Would have a legitimate chance to score from first on a double. 1-1.
Right at the bottom of the kneecaps. That's one, even though it's a strike, folks, you take that one because you're not going to do anything with this pitch. Outside corner right at the bottom of the kneecaps. Go ahead and take that one, tip your cap, and try to get a mistake with this one. That's not a mistake. That was just filthy.
You know, a lot of submarine style pitchers, their fastball, you know, normally their guys throwing 84, 85. I mean, this guy's got a little giddy up on his fastball to go along with that breaking ball.
Now, Phillips has no idea what's coming. He's going to have to try to guess something here because he's seen 2 great ones.
Taking outside 2. All right, Mark Grace, let's get in now. The side of Phillips. You've seen now a couple of fastballs. You've also seen a couple of breaking balls. He throws you a fastball away on a 1-2 pitch. What do you think in 2-2?
I think that was a showcase fastball to set up this breaking ball coming now. I think he feels like the breaking ball is the pitch that he's got better command of today. I'm guessing breaking ball.
You called it. You got him on strikes 2 in the inning. End of 7. Indians lead 3-0.
This is a classic matchup. Breaking ball missed. Look at the beautiful fastball, 1-1. Now the breaking ball. Now this is the showcase. I'm going to show Brandon Phillips a fastball to set up this final breaking ball. That was a clinic right there by a young man with the best ERA in the American League, Joe Smith.
Well, the Reds leave them loaded in that 7th inning, and here we go in the 8th. Bill Bray takes over on the mound for Homer Bailey. Bailey allows the 3 runs, 2 earned in 7 innings here today.
Well, he did himself proudly, I thought, this afternoon, Tom. 1 Homer Bailey.
Been a good year for Bill Bray. He began the year one of 3 left-handers in the Cincinnati bullpen. Of course, much of the pub went to the young Cuban Aroldis Chapman, who did not allow a single run over the entire first month of the season. Then all of a sudden, Chapman, who's been clocked at 106 miles per hour with a fastball, could not find the strike zone. Once the month of May began, he was sent back to the minor leagues and just activated from the minor leagues earlier this week. Bray is having a rock solid year. That ERA right around 1.5 all year.
Yeah, he's a good one. He's got a fastball in the low 90s. He's also got a very good slider. And he is just extra tough against left-handed batters. So Santana will just turn around and hit right-handed.
1-2 on Santana. And it's in the air, right field. Backing up on it is Bruce into the shade. 1 out. Part of a double switch made by the Reds manager Dusty Baker. But Torria remains in the game to take over for Paul Giannis at short. Over 41,000 on hand today. This bright, sunny, late afternoon here in Cincinnati. Indians are 6 outs away from going to 5-0 against the Reds this year. When they got together back in May, that's when the Indians had the best record in Major League Baseball, and they won 3 in a row rather handily. One of the games, a very tight game. Bailey gave up a late home run in a 1-run loss. But here Cleveland, after starting this 3-city road trip with 3 straight losses against the Giants before winning 2 of 3 in Arizona, have won the season series against their in-state rival for the first time since 2005.
And on top of that, after they're done with the Reds tomorrow, we heard Lonnie Chisenhall talking with Brandon Phillips earlier. They get to go home for the final week before the All-Star break, and the Cleveland Indians, well, they play awfully good at home. They're 10 games over 500 at home this year. Strike 3 as Bray just comes out and starts to dominate again.
Time for a direct TV game break. Reds in a 3rd place tie with the Pirates going into play today. An early home run for the Nationals gave them the lead, but all of a sudden back come the Pirates. Garrett Jones along with the left center field. In a 5-3 Buccos win. Get every Major League game and the most in high def by calling 1-800-DIRECTV. The Pirate team really having a nice year.
They're trying to leapfrog the Cincinnati Reds in the standings right now. And at this stage they have.
Well, we talked about, this upcoming week, the final week before the All-Star break inside the National League Central, and how the Reds have to go to St. Louis for 3, then Milwaukee for 4. Meanwhile, the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are having a very, very good year, another surprise team in the National League West, they will play the Brewers and then the Cardinals leading up to the All-Star break. So the team to really watch between now and the break might be the Pittsburgh Pirates. They will be playing a couple of teams under 500 leading up to the break. So they could take advantage of everybody else trying to beat up on one another.
Exactly right. They've got themselves some awfully good talent. And that's the thing, when you've struggled for as long as they have, well, you start accumulating very high draft picks. Well, all those guys, all these draft picks are kind of starting to get good at the same time, and they're coming to the big league level. And they're no longer a doormat this year in Pittsburgh.
3-2 now to Chisenhall. Ray hoping to put together a 1-2-3 inning. Votto, Rowland, and Bruce will start things in the bottom of the 8th inning for the Reds. And it's a perfect day for Gray. We'll see if Cincinnati can do some damage against this outstanding Cleveland bullpen when we return. By Viagra and by Gillette Fusion, turn shaving into gliding and skeptics into believers. Pro Glide from Gillette Fusion. Cincinnati comes to bat in the home half of the 8th inning, being shut out today. A 3-0 game. As the left-hander Tony Sipp comes on. We told you the Reds have lefty, righty, lefty. Votto, Rowland, Bruce coming up here in the 8th inning. And by the way, we have a new third baseman as well, part of a double switch made by Manny Acta. Jack Hanahan takes over down at third for Chisenhall. Strike one to Votto.
Sippa. Clemson man, just one of the many weapons that Manny Acta's got out there in his bullpen. He's got a couple of lefties that are just knockdown, drag out, successful this year. We saw Perez earlier, and now Sipp takes the mound.
It really was about this time last year, a little bit later than this time last year, but not much thereafter, where this young Indians bullpen really came together. They had Kerry Wood, of course, as their closer, who was battling. There's a drive to straightaway center field, and this one is gone. So Cincinnati on the board for the first time today. Home run number 12 on the year for Joey Votto.
Well, Votto just took a fastball down around the knees. lot of people say it wasn't a bad pitch, but then a lot of people say, well, they're not good pitches when they leave the ballpark. And Joey Votto just shows why he's the reigning MVP. He doesn't care who you are out there. He's going to go out there and battle them.
Well, the Reds trailing by 2. Nobody out here in the 8th inning. And Scott Rowland, the batter. He's grounded to short, bounced to third, and doubled down the right field line his last time up against the left-hander Perez. We're talking about the Indians last year. They didn't have many save chances. Kerry Wood was eventually dealt to the Yankees. That's when Chris Perez took over as their closer. And really, when all these young guys kind of came together, Sip, Perez had already been there, but Joe Smith getting a chance. You know, Herman pitched in 40 games for him, got a taste of the big leagues. And now all of a sudden this year, I mean, these guys have been doing it since day one.
And they made some moves to get some young guys, especially in their bullpen. Kerry Wood, as you said, Rafael Betancourt was sent to the Colorado Rockies, so that opened up a couple of spots for these young guys to not only get experience, but also to shine, to have success.
Now the question today is, and you hear about it all the time, and you know, you can talk to the quote-unquote sabermetrics crowd, many of them making the argument that anybody can close out a game. But you talk to people who watch baseball day in and day out, and while the law of averages, statistically speaking, may tell you that there's probably a lot of truth to that, there are a lot of guys that have been great in the 7th and 8th inning that are not the same guy in the 9th inning. Well, today the Indians are without their closer, and now all of a sudden here's a base hit off the wall. This will be a double by Rowland, and the Reds will bring the tying run to the plate with still nobody out in the 8th inning.
Back-to-back ringing base hits. One left the ballpark. Now Scott Rowland, I mean, he hammers one-on-one hop off the wall down in the left field corner. So now, just like that, here come the Redlegs. Fastball in, and he just cuts it right off and just drills it down the left field line.
Right-hander Chad Durbin begins to throw in the bullpen. Clearly they're going to use, if they have a chance, Pestano to close it out in the absence of their regular closer Perez here today.
I think what Manny Acta was hoping to do was try to get him through the heart of the order, the two left-handers in Votto and Bruce, and try to sandwich Rowland in there as well. But a home run and a double is now all of a sudden it's plan B. Back-to-back sliders, back-to-back swings and misses. Sip says, okay, well, if you guys are going to hit my fastball hard like that, I'm going to have to break out my off-speed stuff, and he jumps ahead 0-2. And I think he's absolutely insane if he throws anything but a breaking ball right here.
0-2 the count on Bruce. Runner at second, nobody out. Throws him another breaking ball. It's in the dirt. So, and as a batter up there, Gracie, I mean, you were one of the best left-handed batters against left-handed pitching for 12, 13, 14, 15 years. You know what the guy's trying to do to you.
Exactly.
So, I mean, are you sitting breaking ball here?
I am now, because you've made me look bad on 2 breaking balls. So, usually if you've made me look bad, you're going to try to make me look worse with this one. I would say he's going to stay with the breaking ball again.
Breaking ball, check swing, no on the appeal.
See, that was a well-executed slider right there by Sip. Just a really good job of laying off a tough slider. Did he go? Boy, that's close, but he checked it up just in time. Usually these big, strong guys, like Bruce, once that bat gets going, it's tough to check it up in time, but he certainly did that time.
Looked like a bit of a hanger that time, stayed on the inner part of the plate, but the result for Sip is a strikeout of Bruce.
That's exactly right. I think just the off speed of it, yeah, that's kind of a hanger that was right there to hit. You can see the chagrin as Bruce heads back to the dugout. Boy, that's a huge out for the Indians and Sip. But now he's going to have to face some right-handed hitters here, and that really wasn't the plan that Manny Acta had for the 8th inning.
left-handed batter he's faced here in the inning is Roland, who doubled off the left field wall. But overall this year, right-handers are hitting 187 against Sip, but they do have 4 home runs. Ball 1 to Johnny Gomes. They have the right-hander Durbin ready in the bullpen. And the Reds, as Mark mentioned, they don't have any other left-handed batters on that bench.
Johnny Gomes has already put 11 baseballs into the seats. He could send this capacity crowd into a frenzy.
Nice block there by Martian, keeping Roland at second base. And you see those numbers here for Gomes. I mean, he has knocked the cover off the ball. Really, that's been a story oftentimes in his career against left-handers. He has owned them. And he'll be looking for something to hammer here 2-0 if it's in the strike zone.
And because of the success Votto and Roland, now a good matchup for Dusty Baker. Johnny Gomes against any left-hander is a great matchup. He took a strike right down the middle on 2-0. Boy, that's one usually guys like Johnny Gomes, they come unglued trying to hit that one in the upper deck, but he just watches it pass. I mean, that is thigh high, splitting the plate. That's where you make your money on those pitches.
2-1 on Gomes with Roland at second and 1 out. And that one a little bit high. So 2-0 a moment ago. He took a strike. 3-1. The Sip come back with another fastball.
I think he does. I think he absolutely does.
Ryan Hannigan waiting in the on-deck circle. And now the 3-1 offing to Johnny Gomes. Hits up and away, ball 4. So the Reds now have a tying run aboard. The go-ahead run coming to the plate. And will that be all for Sip? Here comes Manny Acton.
It will be. One of the few hiccups for the left-hander. But Manny Acton's going to have to go get him. And this thing just got awfully interesting, folks.
Baseball next week. Brian McCann and the Braves go to Philadelphia to take on the Phils. NL East rivals or rivals in the American League Central, the Twins and the White Sox. Presented by AT&T, begins at 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Reds left them loaded in the 7th. They have 2 on, 1 out, 1 in here in the 8th. And now Chad Durbin takes over on the mound to face Ryan Hannigan. It's ball 1. Durbin signed as a free agent at the beginning of March, the first day of March. Now his overall numbers don't look very good, but one thing he has done, only 2 of 19 inherited runners have scored against Durbin, and that's not bad for a guy who has some crooked numbers.
That is fabulous. That means you've had to come in and clean up a lot of messes. Well, guess what he's been asked to do here? Tony Sipp created a bit of a mess for him. He's going to have to try to find a way to retire 2 Cincinnati Reds before they tie this thing up or take the lead.
3-1 game, Cleveland leading with Rowan at second base, Johnny Gomes on at first, and he got Hannigan tied up there, up and in.
He just ran a fastball right around the neck, and Hannigan just could not lay off of it. Up and in it goes. And you see the check swing there and a near busted ankle out of Ryan Hannigan.
Hannigan missed a number of games earlier in the week, bothered by a sore lat muscle, then hit a big 3-run home run in Wednesday's 4-3 win in Tampa Bay. It was a 3-run home run early on against James Shields.
He hadn't been giving up too many of those this year, James Shields.
Big pitch right here, 2-2 on Hannigan. And a high fly ball into center field. Sizemore underneath it, 2 out.
Hannigan upset with himself. He got a good pitch to hit there, and he took the swing he wanted, but he was beaten just enough. He just hit a lazy fly ball out to center field.
Pitcher spot due up here, the number 8 spot in the batting order, so it'll be Chris Heisey, who as a rookie last year tied a Reds franchise record by hitting 4 pinch hit home runs. And look at those numbers pinch hitting this year. If there's one category the Reds are by far and away better than any team in Major League Baseball, it has been their pinch hitting numbers. They've gotten a lot of big pinch hits.
Well, all your really good teams are deep, and the Cincinnati Reds are deep. They have got good hitter after good hitter after good player coming off the bench. And Chris Heisey's a guy that just, before long, somewhere he's going to have to find himself an everyday job somewhere. I mean, this kid, all he does is just put up really good numbers as a part-time player.
Well, you knew they were throwing that first pitch breaking ball to Heisey, a notorious first pitch fastball hit. He, as many guys are in the big league.
Well, coming off the bench, you try to get 3 swings if you can, and usually that first pitch fastball is the one you're trying to get. And a really good job there, again, by Marson. But yeah, but also every pitcher in baseball also knows as a pinch hitter when you're looking to hit that first straight thing you see. And really, Durbin did a great job of dropping in a first pitch curveball to jump ahead, but now we're 1-1.
Got him on another breaking ball, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Well, the Reds had him loaded in the 7th with only 1 out. And Stubbs hit that ground ball to third. They got a force out at home. Wound up striking out Phillips to leave him loaded. And now after a leadoff home run by Votto to begin this 8th inning, Roland followed with a double. 1 out later, a walk to Gomes. Durbin comes in, gets Hannigan. And now trying to maintain a 2-run lead ahead on Heisey. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, he got away with a high slider right there. Heisey's had a 3-homer game this year already.
That was a 3-homer game against the Yankees. The final game of that last homestand for Cincinnati. Struck him out. So we talked about Durbin. Only 2 inherited runners have scored against him. It's still 2.
Chad Durbin starting with the breaking balls. That set up everything. Now Heisey's thinking he's going to throw me breaking balls, right? No, I'm going to throw some hard stuff here and then get you finally on a little slider down and away. And once again, Chad Durbin coming in to clean up a mess. And boy, these Cleveland pitchers have made the clutch pitches when they've needed to here late in the game.
Logan Ondrusek, the new Reds reliever, gets Austin Kearns on the first pitch. A bouncing ball to Renteria. Ondrusek out of Shiner, Texas, brought up to the major leagues last year, had just an outstanding rookie year. Heisey remains in the game to play left field, and you see Ondrusek picked up right where he left off his first year in the big leagues.
Big, long, tall Texan.
Well, certainly the Reds have a pile of players from the Lone Star State. One and oh the count, and it's swung on and missed by Marson.
A good cut fastball there. Had Marson flailing at it.
Foul territory, it's Votto for the second out. We talked about this great state of Texas, well represented on the Cincinnati Reds major league roster, and all of them drafted by the Reds. Bailey out of LaGrange, Bruce out of Beaumont, Stubbs from Atlanta, Texas, Paul Janisch from Houston, and Logan Ondrusek, as we mentioned, from Shiner, Texas. And only one of that group, a Texas Longhorn. That would be Drew Stubbs, who played collegiately at the University of Texas.
You're just kind of bred that way to go to the University of Texas, and if you're not an athlete, go there and get your education.
And of course, you brought up the name earlier, Adam Dunn. Reds drafted him out of Texas. He was an Obviously went there to play a little football as well.
Quarterback as well, right?
Do you realize they have some other guys around here that aren't too bad?
That's exactly right. I'll go play baseball.
Hanahan batting for the first time in the game. He's behind 1-2. Look ahead of the bottom of the ninth inning with Cleveland leading here 3-1. The Reds will have Renteria in the 9 hole, and then back to the top of the order, Stubbs, Phillips. Any further than that, it's Votto against Pastano, who will come on to try and close it out. Two and two to count on Hanahan with 2 outs and nobody on here in the Cleveland ninth inning. Pulled foul. Pastano has never closed a major league game. Officially this year he is 0 for 3 in saved chances. Has not had one going all the way back to the first week of May against Oakland.
Oh, boy, that one just missed. Hannigan held it there for a little while, but Ron Culpa said nope, it was a little bit too far outside. Wow. That's where if you Jack Hanahan, you say, thank you, I'll be swinging at this one.
3-2 pitch. He fouled it away. White Sox have finished off the Cubs. That is a 1-0 final at Wrigley Field today.
We're scoring way down this year in the major leagues, isn't it? I mean, way down.
Well, there is very little doubt that the steroids era well behind the game of baseball.
And that's certainly a very good thing.
They've done a great job. Major League Baseball has. Slowly, some might say, but nonetheless, it has improved dramatically. And the various testing that they have now and really cracking down on it, it's pretty safe to say we've seen the results from that. Inning over. So here we go to the bottom of the ninth. Renteria to start it off. A 3-1 Cleveland lead.
Specialist Victor Furry from Fabsharan, Afghanistan, wishing the team good luck and go Tribe.
And God bless you and yours, serving our great country, celebrating the 4th of July weekend.
Indeed.
All right, here we go. Top of the 9th inning. Now, we talked about Pestano without a save this year, and he has 3 blown saves. Of course, you know, guys get charged with a blown save if they're the setup guy and they give it up in the 8th inning. So this will be the first time this year he's had a chance to, start the 9th and close things out. What a year he's had. 40 strikeouts against 11 walks. And it's in there, strike.
He has a great arm. He throws a lot of cut fastballs. I mean, just a kid that's fun to watch. I mean, it's no nonsense. Let's play baseball. Here it is.
Now, Pestano picked up a save last year, his first and only save in the major leagues. That was in the final week of the season against Kansas City. A 3-1 lead here in the 9th inning today. And that's just a little bit low and outside to Renteria.
Pestano looking in it. Really? That wasn't a strike?
Renteria pinch hit single in the right in the 7th inning. And now 3 balls and a strike. Well, all you can ask for if you're a home team trailing in the bottom of the 9th inning.
Get that leadoff man on.
Tying run to the plate.
All on right. By hook or by crook, Edgar Renteria's job is to find his way on base.
And that's strike 2. Vinny Pestano with a 3-2 count on Renteria, and here it comes. Got him swinging to begin the inning.
You see how the ball just explodes out of Vinny Pestano's hand and just gets past the hitter. It's like something, he gets halfway there and then just something, and then all of a sudden the jockey just goes to the whip and it's just past hitters.
Pestano makes his home, grew up in Anaheim, California, then pitched 3 years collegiately at Cal State Fullerton. Got his first taste of the big leagues last year. He only pitched in 5 games. Was a closer in Double-A, was a closer in Triple-A Columbus last year. They found this guy in the 20th round. 611th pick overall. Are you kidding me? 611. Of course, he had reconstructive right elbow surgery.
There you have it.
After he got hurt. After initially being drafted. That was during his junior year. They knew when they drafted him that he would have to come back from the Tommy John surgery. 3-0 to Stubbs. And not to minimize Tommy John. You can't do it. That's surgery. But man, I mean, the track record is getting better and better and better of guys coming back from that surgery.
And coming back even stronger than they were. You're right. You've got a brand new elbow.
And there is a 4-pitch walk to Stubbs.
As you said, the first job is done, and that is you've brought the go-ahead or the tying run to the plate. And also the good news for the Cincinnati Reds is this is the heart of their order.
Brandon Phillips hit 2 home runs in the game here last night. He has 8 long ones on the year. Today is 0 for 4. He's grounded out 3 times and struck out with the bases loaded, ending the 7th. Ball 1.
Those cut fastballs are just cutting a little too much on Pestano right now. Everything missing away to the right-handed hitter. Just right past Brandon Phillips. And it looked like he was right on that pitch, but it was just past him.
1-1 on Phillips. Sweeps away with a breaking ball. 2-1, and Joey Votto stands in the on-deck circle for the Reds. Threw it right by him again.
And Brandon Phillips is a very good fastball hitter, folks. You can see that ball is just belt high, outer third, and right past him again.
Well, why would you throw anything else? You beat him with fastballs, and so 2-2, he throws a fastball by him again. And now the Reds down to their final out.
Yeah, he was messing around with a breaking ball. When you've got an exploding fastball, I mean, that's just center cut and right by him. Well, this is why we love baseball. These matchups right here, folks. The MVP against the now closer for the Tribe. Do you mess with him and take a chance on him tying the game, or do you maybe pitch carefully to him?
Put on the big shift defensively for Votto, and he just slaps it into left field, a base hit. That'll advance Stubbs on to third. So now the Reds have a tying run at first base. The go-ahead run coming to the plate in the form of Scott Rowland.
How good is Joey Votto? Yeah, what's so special about this guy? First pitch he sees, he just promptly whacks it out into left field for a base hit. And Scott Rowland now. That's just beautiful hitting right there. It's not like the Reds haven't had plenty of opportunities late in this ball game, Tom.
Well, the last 2 innings, they've left them loaded. They've left 2 on. And now they have 2 on with 2 out in the 9th. Rowland bounced out his first 2 times up, has doubled his last 2 times up.
Tardy on a fastball.
Only 1 home run allowed this year to a right-handed batter by Pestano. Of course, all Rowland's thinking about, he'd love to have just his 3rd double in a row. Cleveland trying to make it back-to-back wins in this series, 5 in a row against Cincinnati this year. And now Pestano in front of Rowland at 1 ball and 2 strikes.
That time he elevated one about belt high. Scott Rowland took a mighty rip at it, but all he could do was foul it straight back. And like you said earlier, Tom, why would you throw anything else but the fastball right now if you're Vinny Pestano?
Struck him out and the game is over. What a job by this Cleveland bullpen yet again. Their starter last 2 innings in the game. Herman, Perez, Smith, Sipp, Durbin, Pestano clean up the final 7 innings, allowing only 1 solo home run to Joey Votto.
Very impressive again, and Cleveland's starting to believe that this thing could carry even past the All-Star break and beyond, because they have got themselves one heck of a pitching staff up in Northern Ohio.
Our Valvoline next-gen right play of the game, the 3-run home run by Michael Brantley in the 3rd inning against Homer Bailey. And the Cleveland pitching makes the 3-run stand in a 2-run win. So the Central, the Reds are back to 500. We're back with more in a moment.